What's something your employer did that instantly killed employee morale? I work in a big corporate building. The same older lady came by everyone's desk towards the end of the day to collect the trash. Just the sweetest lady ever, and every time she'd walk to my desk she'd give me a big smile and ask me how my day was and chat for a minute as she got my trash. Usually I'd dump it in for her. I had some rough days, but she has a way to cheer me up and send me home on a higher note. I know I'm not the only one either. So then a few weeks back our work implemented a new policy to cut down on trash usage. It's no longer allowed to have a trash bin at our desk and we have to walk across the room and use the community trash to throw anything away. Not a huge deal, but the real reason they did it is so they can cut down on cost, i.e. the cleaning crew. Sad to say that I haven't seen Sharon since. This is heartbreaking. Boss pitched a sales incentive trip to Cancun if the team hit the goal. My team exceeded the goal, and then they cancelled the trip. 2 people quit. I accepted a position with their main competitor, and less than a year later, they closed in bankruptcy. Calm as a beach. A coworker of mine won Employee of the Year and was given a free cruise. He won the prize by never saying no to the owner, which he continued and missed the cruise deadline. He still works there. We're moving manufacturing overseas. UHH. All we do at this facility is manufacturing. Yep. Never seen a less productive or less motivated workforce. And it was announced over a year before the move to. Would have been better for the company to just spring it on people with 2 weeks. Although props to them for giving people a chance to find new work ahead of time. Electrical contractor of 35. 27 of which are out in the field. We earn PTO hours based upon the number of hours worked in a given week. Full-time employees earn what is equal to about 6 extra paid days off in a year, which is typically used for errands, sick days, taking care of children and so on. One of the field employees is a known, to all other field techs, alcoholic. Word makes it to office personnel that this individual was using his PTO because he had tipped too many back the night before and couldn't make it to work on time. Owner denied his PTO claim and he drove into the office to have a shouting match with the owner. Very next day a company-wide email is sent stating that PTO will be indefinitely suspended because it is being abused. Not even sure if what they did is legal, but instead of dealing with this one employee, they decided to use it as a way to save paying out around 180 earned days off throughout the entire company. This happened about a week ago. Morale dropped instantly. Most field techs started showing up late, playing around on their phones and leaving early. Couple guys have already jumped ship and sounds like a large number of others are about to follow. I'm going to wait it out a couple months as I'm owed a Yeti cooler and vacation time on my anniversary. This school wanted to switch to Chromebooks. So what did they do? One summer while teachers weren't working, they removed every single Windows station and replaced them with Chromebooks to be issued to teachers. They were told to figure it out. When teachers came up and asked how they could teach Photoshop, programming, AutoCAD 3D modeling, etc., admin basically googled their program name plus Chromebook extension and told them, see, there's an extension for it and it works. I don't think I have to add that it did not work. They ended up bringing back the desktops for most teachers. I did tech for a school. I have no idea how incompetent you have to be to think you can do Photoshop or AutoCAD on a Chromebook. I would bet my Reddit account that none of them use Chromebooks in their off time. Small business, 20 employees and boss made a big speech about austerity measures and no raises this year. A week and a half later he drives up in a brand new Silverado with all the bells and whistles. Expense to the business, of course. He would hate to have to pay taxes on those profits. One of the less subtle members of the staff took a little crap in front of his office door. Put up a poster that said complaining is like vomiting. You feel better but everyone around you feels sick. The morale was already bad, but it was just a crappy way to take a hit at upset employees rather than do anything positive. Complaining is like vomiting. Something caused it to happen, and it's best to figure out why and change it so it doesn't happen again. Telling employees that they are going to fire you if you don't make more sales. Then when someone quits, tell them no, that was just motivation. We were never going to fire you. We must work for the same company, lol. I was one of a large number of programmers working on a project at CSC. We had a deadline coming up in a couple months and they overpromised to the client and then asked us all to work extra hard to meet the deadline and asked us to work 50+ hour weeks, which we did, and then some. Some of us put in 70-80 hour weeks to meet this deadline, but once that deadline was met, suddenly there was another deadline they needed to meet, and another. People got tired, had lives to lead, and scaled back on their hours. Most of us were still working 50-60 hours a week, but not a lot more than that. Once they realized we weren't killing ourselves on their project any longer, there was an all-hands meeting where the managers told us that they were incredibly disappointed in our lack of professionalism because so comparatively few employees were now working more than 50 hours a week. One of our harder workers stood up and said, "Look, I have 3 kids. I'm driving an hour into and out of work every day. I'm taking care of my family. I'm trying to get presents for Christmas, write out Christmas cards, decorate and clean the house for everyone we're having over for the holidays. I'm having a really hard time just getting to 50. And the manager looked at her and sneered, "If it wasn't Christmas, it'd be because it's Easter, or Memorial Day, or because it's summer and it's nice out. You'd always have some excuse." There was dead silence in the room. When we left that meeting, we didn't talk to each other, but every single worker on that project put in exactly 50 hours a week after that. Then came Christmas, raise and bonus time. Every worker on the project got a 1/2% raise. The managers got a 5-figure bonus. We were P for management. The pain came after Christmas. First week of the year, 4 programmers had better jobs lined up and quit. 3 more the following week. 5 the next. We managed 3-5 programmers every single week for over 3 months. It got to the point where the managers had to schedule a meeting every Monday at 11 to discuss that week's resignations and rearrange the surviving staff. Frick CSC. It got to the point where the managers had to schedule a meeting every Monday at 11 to discuss that week's resignations and rearrange the surviving staff. Like you guys are at war and discussing how many naval vessels have been lost. I told the hiring manager that I was disappointed in one of his hires because he knew literally nothing about our job and asked him, "Doesn't that cheapen my knowledge and expertise?" His response, "Well, let's be honest, your job doesn't really need all that, does it?" There were 4 other people my level, with varying fields of expertise, at that meeting, and it got real quiet after that. I once had a retail manager who sent out a memo that we worked so hard and did such a great job this month that she gets a bonus. That went over like a lead balloon. Worked in a deli years ago and the manager promised us a no-holds-barred barbecue at his place if he got his bonus for the deli performing well. He got his bonus and, surprise surprise, we got nothing. Apparently the wife wanted the bonus for their kids' private school fees. Doug, you suck. They banned phones, electronics, puzzles, books, etc. from being used at your desk. I work at a call center. We were expected to just sit and wait for the next call to come in distraction free, even if it was a super slow day. Former teacher. The administrators at my school were usually pretty chill, but had a habit of randomly coming up with minor rules that they would enforce for us. Male teachers had to wear ties even on Jeans Day, etc. Overall it wasn't bad, except for the time an administrator made a crucial mistake. They banned staff from drinking coffee in front of students. Now if you've never worked in a school, you'd think this isn't a big deal. When you spend nearly 100% of your day in front of students, it definitely is a big deal. First we tried to find any loophole we could. Energy drinks, banned the next week. Tea, banned 2 days later. It was chaos. Eventually, we realized they couldn't fire an entire school's worth of teachers and aides, so we ended up doing the one thing that private schools fear most: we formed a union. Realistically, it was more of a weird pseudo-union focused specifically on civil disobedience regarding the coffee issue, but it ruffled feathers nonetheless. The administrators caved to our demands, allowed us to drink coffee again, and even bought each of us a reusable coffee mug as a gesture of goodwill. And that's the story of how a handful of school administrators almost accidentally created a teachers union over a complete non-issue. I worked at a club in Miami and the owner was out of his freaking mind. Years of drug abuse. When the housing market crashed, obviously people were spending far less going out, but he insisted we were all stealing. We had meetings once a week with all kinds of threats. Finally he put in an automatic pouring system for 50k plus. It basically looks like you're pouring drinks from a soda gun. Super boring. The fun vibe and flair we had was totally gone, which made sales drop even more. He ripped the system out 2 weeks later. I hate getting drinks from places with those. I only order beers if the bar has them. I used to work at an English immersion middle school in Korea. The admin was all Korean, including my boss, the vice principal. Word started going around that the school was under investigation for certain admin taking bribes to admit students. The VP got visibly anxious for a few weeks. Then one Sunday night we got a text message from one of the Korean teachers at the school. The vice principal has passed away. It turns out he had hung himself in the school lobby that afternoon. The teaching staff still had to be at school the next morning even though classes were cancelled for several days. I remember walking into the school and seeing a custodian mopping the spot where the VP had been hanging. Morale tanked pretty hard for a while. Freaking heck, I was not expecting that. Told a bunch of people they were going to be promoted to get us to do extra work. No one got promoted. I basically did her job for a month. Me and 3 of my co-workers quit and she got fired a few months later. My job has been doing that to people including me. They pass people over for promotions then say but if you do all this extra stuff it'll look good for the next one. Meanwhile managers promote their friends basically. Had a boss everyone loved. Then she got transferred to another store and the new guy that replaced her decided the schedule that we'd all gotten used to needed to be shaken up. He posted the next week's schedule that was completely different than it had been under the previous manager. Got a bunch of complaints from people saying they can't work X days or Y times and it seemed he was receptive since he took that schedule down. Then suddenly bam, he just reposted the same exact schedule and said frick everyone. Oh, we had some people calling in sick from time to time under the old manager, but this new manager has pretty much half his crew every single day calling out because of his crappy tactics. Here's the first thing to learn about being a good manager. You don't need to shake things up for people to be better workers. You don't need to put your mark on anything if it's working just fine the way it was. I have to. Company 1. Cancelled the Christmas party and Christmas bonuses for the whole company because we didn't have the money for it. I found out later the CEO and the CTO used company funds to take a week-long ski vacation in Whistler instead of doing something nice for the employees. You better believe I spread that evidence around the office. Company 2. It's not one specific incident, but my current company in the last couple years switched from guaranteed permanent employment for anyone who worked there long enough to a system of permanent contract labor for a huge section of their workforce. Rumblings of unionization have started amongst the contract workers. Held a super positive, pep rally style company-wide meeting about how they were going to start combining our sick days with our vacation days and now just call them PTO. This was presented to us as a great thing, since we could all now use our PTO days fully as vacation days if we wanted to. Once the system was implemented, everyone realized that instead of getting 10 vacation days and 10 sick days per year, we now all had 15 PTO days. Everyone was P. I just want to say that anyone bragging in the replies about how this wouldn't affect them because they don't use their sick days as fricked up priorities. We have the same thing. It only encourages people to come in sick and get everyone else sick. In a company of 6 people, owner said in a meeting with everyone that his 2 sales guys are irreplaceable and that the rest of us are just paper pushers. He now runs a company of 3 people. Had a big fight with his wife in front of everybody. I don't think you should run a restaurant with your family members unless you're really solid with each other. At an airplane factory, manager started rationing gloves, hairnets, masks, and trash bags at the same time we had to go on a 12x6 work week. Like that was gonna make up for the increase in labor. They got rid of their night cleaning crew the week after I started and we had to learn how to clean the whole department on our own before close. I work in a meat department so this meant taking apart and cleaning 2 meat grinders and a bandsaw that were covered with meat goop. Almost the whole department quit because of this, but I stuck around and got the hang of it. After about 3 months though they hired the cleaning crew back. Now closing is a breeze. Yes, I'm aware most meat departments don't have a cleaning crew. Frick man, I worked in a butcher shop in college, and cleaning those meat grinders is no joke. The grinder itself is a 2-foot long corkscrew that has to weigh 25 pounds. Oh, and it's razor sharp and covered in soapy water and beef tallow. I went to work for a company that I had wanted to work at for 4 years. I had friends who worked there. They were growing and profitable and they had lots of fun events and great perks. A real startup type environment. When they finally hired me, the company had just started in on the fringes of losing money. The monthly lunches became monthly snacks became quarterly snacks. The appreciation for service awards dropped all of the prize money. They used to give $100 gift card per year worked. But management started being crankier and more stress out. Budgets shrunk. But all of that was okay with me. I still believed in the company and its leadership, and I know that businesses have good years and bad years. Then they did the one thing that sent every talented and sought after employee heading for the door. They killed bonuses. Not company performance bonuses. Personal performance bonuses. When I was hired, 10% of my pay was negotiated to be based on personal performance. They changed it so that all bonuses were only based on the company hitting its financial targets. Which they didn't. They didn't even announce it company-wide or have an all-hands meeting. They made each manager tell their headcounts during our annual quarterly reviews. I was told by my manager that he didn't work for or expect the bonus. That's why it's called a bonus. So I said goodbye to my 10% pay cut and hello to a 25% raise somewhere else. TLDR, they gave everyone a 10% pay cut. I worked at a family-owned market that was well known and loved by locals. The owners were a lovely couple that took care of their employees and would bend over backwards for their customers. They were very active in the community and highly respected. They had a few core employees and would hire on temp staff during the summer and holidays. The temps were mostly high schoolers and college kids that were home on break. They would bring back the same people as long as they could, and the kids would try to stay as long as they could. The pay was well above market for those positions. We could shop there and get a 75% discount. After 6 months you got 2 weeks paid vacation. And the owners would close the store a couple days a year and host a party for all of the employees. It was the best job any high schooler in the area could get. I lived right next to the store and my parents were friends with the owners, so I was given a job there. All my friends were jealous. After working there for a few years, the couple decided they wanted to retire to spend time with their daughter and her children in another state. Many tears were shed and they had a huge retirement party where they introduced their son to everyone and told us he was taking over. They gushed about his prestigious business education and background. As soon as they were gone, the son decided he was going to remake the store in his image. He fired basically all the staff, most of whom that had been there for 10 to 15 plus years. He then staffed the whole place with homeschool kids and junkies. He cut the discounts and vacations. He hired some old high school friends to manage the place so he could take the profits to go party and get coked out. The shop went from having the same staff for years to having to retrain an entirely new staff every other month. No one wanted to stay. Managers were reporting perfectly good product as damaged and taking it home. Shelves sat empty. Locals stopped shopping there. The place became a corpse of what it had been. The original owners had enough of their friends complain to them about their son that they came back for a short time and tried to make it right. But it was too late. Their original staff had all moved on and vendors had stopped doing business with the store. They decided to close the store, sell the property, and move away permanently. Last I heard, the son was in trouble with the IRS and his wife divorced him when she found him banging a stripper. It's a shame when that sort of thing happens. Changed up the metrics that determined people's bonuses and included things that were important for the business to know, but completely beyond the control of the people whose bonuses were impacted. For example, we had a right party contact rate, how many times you actually got the person you were calling versus the number of calls you actually made. The problem was the phone number list came from elsewhere, and the people making the calls were just given a list of numbers, and you had to call them all. No leeway. So you're calling blind from a list you don't control, and get penalized if the list is crap. Oddly enough, the people in charge of making the phone number lists, their bonuses were not influenced by right party contact rate. Started firing people by lining 2 up at a time and seeing which one they prefer to keep on. Didn't matter if you were there for 20 years or 2. Also hiring management from outside and not promoting within, which means the new managers have no knowledge of anything that company does in terms of ethics, procedures, or employee status. It has turned this clique type environment into every person for themselves. Very toxic. Thanos the day manager. Had a worker that worked herself silly for the job. Really loved the venue, loved the clients, loved the work, so she would work after clocking off, take work home, go on weekends, really just go above and beyond always. We always got incredible feedback from clients and suppliers about her. In our contract it says we're entitled to a 5k raise after being employed for 3 years. At our yearly renewal, having been there for 3.5 years, she asked for the raise. She was flat out told there was no room in the budget. She could have taken them to Fair Work Commission, but instead she just started looking for jobs. She left, got a great position in a great company and is loving it. The guy they hired to replace her had a quarter of the experience, no love for the job, and his annual salary was 10k higher. Most of us have since left and the place is falling to crap. Casually said the best employee was X and everyone, including X, knew that X was among those who did the least amount of work. X was the most friendly to the boss, always coming in to say hi, do you need anything? We were once in the middle of a very stressful period of work, and everyone was feeling it. However, one afternoon, an offhand comment turned into a conversation that we all got involved with and led to a few laughs. My manager, returning from a meeting, piped up, "Oh, we've finished tomorrow's work, have we? What's all this about? Insert subject matter." Entire team instantly deflated. Unnecessary. Every employee needs time to blow off a little steam. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. I publish new videos every day. Until then, check another video. Bye for now.